Still very cold outside, though not as cold as yesterday morning. Highs today are going to be back in the middle 20s. We only reached 16 yesterday afternoon, and we're going to get there because we're seeing plenty of sun. Good morning, meteorologist Erin Ashley. With this sun comes the chance for a little bit of freezing fog with those clear skies overnight into your Monday. We'll unpack that coming up in just a second. Right now, let's focus on the good stuff. That sun. Maybe not so good, is not doing anything for the temps. 7 degrees right now, feels like -2. These winds are no longer just from the northwest, they're from the west, and that's because that high pressure is starting to scoot south a little bit. It's changing the direction of our winds, and eventually we're going to see a southerly wind, and that's going to be pulling in those 30-degree high temperatures, maybe above freezing by Tuesday. Not seeing that now, though. Temperatures are still in the single digits in spots like Georgetown, Hillsborough, Lebanon, Wilmington, Middletown, Hamilton, Batesville, Connorsville. Our hot spot, the Lunket Airport, at 18 degrees right now, if that's what you want to call it. And that's where we have a wind chill of 2 degrees. Some of us are still seeing wind chills just below zero at the International Airport, Connorsville, Middletown, Lebanon, Wilmington, and Hillsborough. We're going to hang on to these cold wind chills in the afternoon, but it's not going to be as cold as what we're seeing now, of course. As of 10 o'clock, we have been below freezing for 233 hours, and with freezing 32, now my forecast for Tuesday afternoon, likely to be breaking this streak soon in some spots. Other spots, gonna have to wait until the later part of the week. Now, clouds and radar pretty quiet right now. That's the good news here. And that high pressure, again, starting to scoot south, and with that comes more of a westerly wind for us. But bring your attention to what's brewing up north, which, again, most of the snow chance for Monday going to be entirely north of us, but we're going to get clipped by this. A few snowflakes, maybe a dusting possible on Monday. Most of us will have to wait for Tuesday, though. Today, nice and dry, just cold. Temps going to be nearing around 23 degrees with mostly sunny skies. That wind from the west mainly, and then that'll make it feel like the teens at times. If you're heading out to the Cyclones game this afternoon, it's mascot birthday matinee day. Puck drops at 3 to 23 degrees, and we're heading home, dropping into the teens once again. Now, tomorrow morning, like this morning, we can't rule out patches of freezing fog. That's mainly going to shift where we have clear skies, which is eyeing southwestern Ohio. Reduced visibility, but also, again, freezing fog will freeze upon contact with other objects that are also below freezing, and so that includes trees. You might see a little thin layer of ice around the branches, and in extreme cases, you can also see it out there on the cars and out there on the roadways. Thankfully, over the last couple of mornings, it's been relatively light. I have seen just a couple of photos of light ice developing on the trees, but nothing too bad for the roads. Now, with temperatures dropping back into the single digits tomorrow morning, those wind chills are once again going to be below zero. However, it's not going to be 15 below zero. It's going to be 10 below zero. In spots, again, some of us will not drop into the single digits, and you guys can expect wind chills in the positive direction. So tomorrow is the first alert weather day. The morning, the afternoon, though, looks pretty good. A few flakes in that forecast. Your high is now at 30 degrees because those winds are going to be shifting in from the south and bringing in warmer air. A few flakes possible throughout the mid to late morning, all the way through your afternoon, but again, it's very light impact from that. I'd say tomorrow we're really just starting a bit of a melting process, a little bit of a melting process. At least we're not seeing that hard freeze anymore for Monday afternoon. And then Tuesday, that's when we actually hit the freezing point. Some of us will surpass it, in which case you'll see a little bit more snow melt than the rest of us, but we do have snow in the forecast for Tuesday. That is going to keep temperatures pretty steady throughout the day. And then as a cold front passes through, we can expect yet another cool down for Wednesday and for Thursday. So temperatures today are in the 20s, tomorrow near 30, low 30s on Tuesday, but then that snow tumbles those temps once again to the point where Wednesday afternoon we're seeing those highs in the middle 20s. So let's talk about the snow, because yes, you will need the snow shovel in spots of the tri-state. And that's because this is a system that looks like it's coming in lifting from the south, which means it has a lot more moisture content to it, more water with it coming in from the Gulf. But It's not looking as strong as what we saw last weekend. I'm not concerned about that. It will produce slick surfaces out there on the roads for untreated roads, sidewalks, and then of course reduce visibility where we've got some heavier snow showers, which again, because we're on the cold side of this entire storm, I'm just forecasting snow. The timing is still favoring the mid-morning through the early evening, which hasn't changed in my forecast over the last 24 hours. But if we were to see this bump up a little bit, get a little earlier, then I would be more concerned about that Tuesday morning commute. But I'd say the impact is going to be felt in the middle of the day and for that afternoon commute on Tuesday rather than the morning. And you see that most of the moisture and the heaviest shower action is going to be south of the tri-state entirely. We're on the northern side of this, which I talked about this so much last weekend, and it's hard not to compare, but we're not going to compare to last weekend because I'm not seeing that much snow, nowhere near that much snow. But it's similar in the sense that we're on the northern side, and therefore any small change in that storm track will increase our snow totals or decrease it by a lot. You'll see it here in a second what I'm talking about. Again, a dusting possible on Monday, but look at this. Tuesday, by the end of the day, some of us are going to get close to about 2.5 inches. I think 2.5 is on the higher side of our range here. That's where you see the purple. That's areas south of Cincinnati. However, if we see the storm track nudge north, it would bring that 2-inch mark closer to downtown. If we see the storm track nudge south, then suddenly our storm totals for the entire tri-state are going to start to drop. But right now we've got a good strong gradient, a strong one from north to south. Lower totals around 1/4 of an inch possible north of Cincinnati, maybe even a dusting. Can't be ruled out. Here in Cincinnati, right in the middle of that range, 1 inch, maybe a little bit more just across the river in Covington. And then the higher snowfall totals, 2.5 inches can't be ruled out in some spots. But again, big changes are possible with small changes in the storm track. We'll be watching this for you guys, and certainly just a little bit of fresh snow on top of all the snow we've already had. So slick surfaces going to be a concern out there on the untreated roads and on the sidewalks as well. And that's our best chance for some snow here in your first alert extended forecast, and that's why it's a first alert weather day because of the snow. Temperatures do fall again, like I mentioned, heading into your Wednesday and Thursday. Highs are just going to be in the middle 20s. Friday, snow to mix to rain. That forecast is looking like a mixed bag, and that's because that temperature, that forecast high, kind of in that sweet spot in which we're lifting in from the freezing point during the morning, and we're getting above freezing in the afternoon, which means any showers that we see in the morning will be snow. And as we near 35, that snow will become rain. So you can kind of see the sequence of events there. But regardless of what happens on Friday, next weekend does look cold. Temperatures are going to be in the mid-20s once again for that first full weekend of February. Okay, let's go ahead and see if we have any questions coming on it. Della's tuning in. More snow. What's that? It's everything that's out on the ground. Can't seem to shake it. Jen's tuning in. We live in southern Campbell County. Do you think we will get measurable snowfall on Tuesday? Yes, absolutely. I think you will. Della is saying, hey, we have the same name. That's so funny. Name twins. Jen saying, I know you said northern Kentucky, but we are, but sometimes are in what I call we either get it or we don't location. Yeah. I would say downtown's kind of in that sweet spot too, and parts of Boone, Kent, and Campbell, just in the middle of the tri-state. And I mean, I'm going to show you once again those snowfall totals or the snowfall forecasts here for Tuesday, because we're in the same spot that we normally are, Jen, in which downtown Cincy, parts of Campbell, Boone, Kenton counties, even Ripley, Dearborn, Claremont, Brown, and Adams County, just the middle of the tri-state. If you were to split it in half, that's typically a dividing line. I usually just use the Ohio River as that dividing line, but parts of the northern Ohio River too are included. But regardless, yeah, there's a very dramatic difference for the forecast in snow south of you versus north of you. And that's why we really stress the importance of checking in on this forecast, because we saw this last weekend. Snowfall in and of itself is difficult to forecast, because if you're on the northern side of a system, be looking at some big changes in the snowfall forecast with only small changes in that storm track. I mean, look, Cincinnati is not far from Falmouth. if you think about it, it's not that far. I couldn't give you a miles difference, but it's less than 100 miles, which it's significantly less than 100 miles. But regardless, if you see this shift south, it will make for less snowfall in our northern counties and in the tri-state in general. But if this pulls north, it would bring that chance for 2.5 inches farther up north with it. Maybe a mix of rain comes in as well. Again, that storm track really is everything. Thank you for tuning in. And then once again, parts of northern Kentucky, Christie, Foster, Kentucky included, can expect the higher side of the spectrum. I'd say anywhere between 1.5, 2 inches, maybe a little bit more in spots. Okay, the time now is 10:26 on your Sunday morning. We will have the latest information for you guys about this snow chance that you see right next to me. That's going to be coming up tonight on Fox 19 now at 10 o'clock. But for now, signing off here in Queens Gate, I'm meteorologist Erin Ashley. Have a great rest of your weekend and happy February.